paid that part. Okay, here's the gist. Here's the gist. You want to get speaking engagements? You want to get paid for speaking engagements? It's a full-time job. So make sure if you're really going to do that, you're really invested in the job. You got to find the places to speak. You got to make sure they have a budget for it. You got to have a process to be able to close them, and then you got to, have a sales process and negotiation to be able to get a fee. Okay, is that okay? Are you guys okay with that? You'll never watch it anyway, right? Okay, those of you watching it, sorry, and it's very, very dark. Okay, but what I was just about to say is the most important part we got is that if you do have your own business and you don't have enough time to work with people one-on-one, you're not making enough, you have a ceiling because you only have so much time. And so then it's a different problem. Let's solve that problem, because otherwise you just try to get speaking engagements to get paid. You have another huge problem. Most speakers who are like, that's what they do, they're speakers, they like don't even make $100,000 a year. I mean, because it's hard to book the engagements. Plus, if they're not selling stuff on the back, they don't make that much money. Like I've had events where I make, I don't know if I should tell you this. I don't know. Okay. I've had 6-figure events. Okay. I made 6 figures in 3 days doing an event. That's my event and people buy my shit, right? That's pretty good money. Would I get 100 and whatever plus $1,000 to speak anywhere? No one's paying me that. No one's paying me that. Okay. So you can make a lot more money if you can sell high ticket stuff from an event versus going on someone's stage and getting paid to speak. Okay. Make sense? Okay, good. Okay, Tamala.
So I'm in front of my ideal client because I'm working with a nonprofit organization, and because of integrity-wise, all that, I stayed with the service-orientation, and I don't talk about my business. And until today, I was thinking I needed to give some of that up, but I was wondering how I could leverage and move the cost.
Okay, cool. So the question is, like, I'm doing all this nonprofit work because this is the key point here that she said is, like, notice the belief, okay? This is the actions. This is exactly the belief phenomenon. So what's happening is you're saying, because of integrity, I don't talk about my services. I just go give back, whatever. I don't talk about my services because of integrity, right? That's a belief that you have, as if you talking about your services is out of integrity. I would absolutely challenge that belief, okay? Now, you don't have to necessarily shift that belief. You can just borrow my belief that, hey, you're not out of integrity by talking about your services, and then take the action anyway. Now you're asking, what action can I take? Because what she was about to do, she's like, I'm going to quit all these things. I can't do everything. You're probably an overgenerous Olivia, which means you're just giving back, giving back, giving back. You're putting everybody else first but yourself. And I would give you one of these. I like to call it one of these. It's really not helping as many people. How dare you think you're integrity by not talking about one probably so badly, and because you didn't talk about your services, you're actually out of integrity because they could use your help and you're not even telling them what you do. Let them be the judge of that. Let them actually decide that. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and I feel and I have a conflict because I don't know how to move.
I'll get to that, but I want to make sure that first part makes sense. Do you guys agree with that? Okay, if you truly are convicted in what you do, you know you can help people, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to tell people what you do and actually talk about how it could serve them, not necessarily in those words like always, but in a way it could if they help people. I want help. So the question is how, okay? You need to try to attract qualified leads in a way that's mission-based. And I talk about this briefly with the audio logo. Mission-based is problems, results, problem, results. So for example, if I was in this and I was on the board or whatever, I was volunteering at something, and let's say I've been there for a while and I've been very quiet. Like, do they know what you do?
I have a problem when we have an event, I'll tell you about it, and I'm usually at the derby event on May 4th, and we have advertising within our booklet. I have a hard time I put from my Fabiano Brown.
What's the underlying fear? What are you really afraid of? Judgment, but why? Like, what is it you're afraid they're going to say? How dare you be a financial advisor, you asshole? So wrong.
I don't know. I feel strongly about both. I love what I do. I love what I do with them. I guess it's I don't want to, I think more as that's what I do. I
It's fine. So it's a harder transition once you've been quiet for so long. So that's why this is hard for me to answer versus just being like, if someone was saying, let me answer it two ways, okay? If you were saying, hey, I'm in, I want to be, or I'm involved, or I'm going to get involved in some organization, I love it, and I really love doing it. I'm going to mentor, there's different leaders. Is that they're leaders? Mentor.
Yeah, they mentor.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to mentor mentors. And how do I talk about what I do to these people when maybe it doesn't seem relevant, or I don't want to overstep, and I definitely don't want to be out of integrity? So I would say, well, when you have human conversations, and when people say, what do? You tell them. Do they never ask you what you do? If they never ask you what they do, I will not tell you that. That would be out of integrity. I'm a mentor to you and you only. That's all I do.
So the time I have with them is very long,
Okay, so let me tell you what I would do. So two things, and then I'll tell you what I would do. And I mentioned this exclusive event. Okay, so what I would do at the beginning if this was starting, people ask what I do, and I would just drop very, very quickly within 1 minute, essentially my messaging around it's the audio logo. Chapter 6 is also in the wrap, much more in depth. But basically, I would say, well, typically I work with service-based female business owners who have the challenge and then result. And then I might tell them a quick story, depending on where I think they are and depending on who, a story of someone that it might relate to. So for example, I was working with, let's say they're millionaires, working with this woman, and she was making $2 million a year. She's really good at business, but she wanted to sell her business in 10 years for $10 million. And she had no idea how to do that. And so we just started working on target marketing, working on how to help her. And in fact, like, she didn't even mean to do this, but we put together a video because it was so mission based and very driven to her ideal client. She ended up attracting a merger acquisition, someone who wanted to buy the company. They merged acquisition plan. She made $6 million. It was 7 months after we started working together. This is a true story. We call her the $6 million femme. Okay. I would tell that story if I want it to, if someone is making millions, or if I want to make sure someone's not thinking like, oh, I already know how to do this. Well, she knew how to do it. She was making $2 million a year. She still got value. I think you can get value too, right? So if I want to tell that story, I can tell a story. Stories will get people interested and get people curious. So the thing I would do now is that you just say like this. So I would say, who are these people, these mentors? What do they have in common? Create an exclusive event. Basically say, are they women, or is it what do they have in common? Okay. Okay, cool. So what do you think what is the biggest thing that they want? Like, promise, what's the biggest thing that they want?
They want to provide value, and they want
to. Okay, legacy. Okay. You would say something like, I would pick the one who likes you the most. Okay. Call her Janet. And you say, Janet comes in, you're mentoring, you're going to mentor, and she's leaving or whatever. And you're like, hey, do you have 2 more minutes or 5 more minutes or whatever? And she's like, yeah. Say, this is totally unrelated, but I'm running this exclusive event, and it's specifically for women in retirement who want to leave a legacy. They want to live a legacy, and they're doing it. They're giving back. They're doing a lot of things like you are. And they also want to leave a legacy, and they want to make sure that their money stretches beyond their years. And so I'm doing this as exclusive event. It's not for everyone. I just want to get like 6 to 8 people. I don't even know if you know what I do, but typically I work with women. Now you can do your audio logo and da-da-da-da. You don't even say I'm a financial advisor. But at this event, we're going to probably 6 to 8 of us. We're just going to really talk about, like, how do you leave this legacy without sabotaging your financial future? And it's going to be, about an hour and a half. And I thought, is this something you might be curious about? And she says, yeah. And say, cool. Well, when would be a good time? Like, I wanted to ask you first because I like you the best. When do you want to do this? Next, maybe 3 weeks from now, Thursday, you figure out the time. Cool. Will you be there? Like, great. Who else do you know? And then you start getting introductions, and you start telling other mentors, hey, I'm doing this. Janet's going to be there. Okay. Okay. Whew. Good. Solved. Okay. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Why didn't I think of that? I did, but I forgot. And then I thought of it. Okay. Yes.
Mine's a little bit different. I'm just curious, aside from me thinking you were stupid, what the hardest limiting belief that you had to overcome was as you were growing from 500 a month to 2,000 a month to then 500. Personally for you.
The biggest limiting belief was that I was afraid to spend money to make money. I was really scared. So again, cheap chip, again, if you know my money types, I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense when you're going deeper in debt. Like in my head, like it's really, really scary to invest money that I didn't have. And it wasn't congruent with who I thought I was. But what also meaning I'm not a spender, I'm a saver. For a saver to then invest money, it felt like an expense when I didn't know if it would work. And I'd already invested a lot of money that I also didn't know would work, but I also thought it would, right? So I kept investing money thinking this time it's going to work, this time it's going to work, this time it's going to work. And then, some of those things did and some of those things didn't. So then, especially when I hired Jeff, which was like the critical point where, like I mentioned, I thought it was yesterday because I feel like it's been 2 days with you guys. But earlier today, like so long ago, he had this $97 program, and I was like, I didn't want to do it because I felt like I couldn't. It goes back to stupid, but it seems stupid to keep throwing money at this problem, and I didn't have the money. So then it was really, even though $97, of course, I could come up with, like, I just knew that, like, I needed more than that. So that was really the hardest thing for me. And if you talk to Jeff, if we were right here and Jeff was here and we were talking about this, we'd be up here like sitting on stools and laughing about it, because he would tell you that I was such a pain in the ass. And I'm not telling you to be a pain in the ass, but I was. Because sometimes when you tell stories, you're like telling them what to do. And I'm not telling you guys to be a pain in the ass, but I was. And because I was in the back of the room and I was talking to him for like, oh, I don't know. It's not the $97, but I don't want to be a seminar junkie. And he's like, well, what is your problem? And he's trying to like help me, but you could tell he's just a little bit annoyed. Like, come on. It's $97, girl. Just like fricking do it or don't do it. But like, I'm not going to convince you. But he wasn't like that. He was super cool. But I knew it was a little bit annoying. But that wasn't it, because after that, and then I hired him. And the next time I hired him, I was still a pain in the ass because I was still so scared of investing money. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm going to go to this and I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do. And again, he's kind of like, well, like just having a conversation. So he was at the point where he almost fired me before I even hired him, because I was just like freaking out about money. And so my biggest challenge was freaking out. I was so stressed about money. In my first book, I talk about how I went to dinner with high school friends like 10 years later. So we had like a little high school kind of friend reunion thing. We went to Mexican food, and I was like so concerned about splitting the bill. I was so concerned about splitting the bill. I was like stressing about it. I'm like, should I order the salad or should I order like the real meal? Because we're going to split it anyway. So I don't want to get screwed and end up like buying a $12 salad and have to pay $25. And I was like having this freaking internal stress conversation. You guys know what I'm talking about, Cheap Chips. But I was having this like internal conversation about it, and I was stressed the whole meal, and I hardly, enjoyed myself because I was freaking out about money. And I was a singer. That time I was a singer-songwriter at the time, and I was just like, it's whatever. And then finally I was like, okay, who cares? At the end, actually, I don't think I said who cares. I think what happened was we did split the bill. I'm like, you're getting that margarita, you freaking asshole. But I really did feel like don't order another drink. But then we split the bill, and it was probably $40, my share, and I probably would have spent 15 to 20. And I was like, are you like, that was a awakening for me, because I was like, Robin, like it was a $25 like difference. Like, really, was it worth all the stress? So I'm just telling you these stories because it's no joke that I used to really freak about money, like the littlest amount and big amounts for sure. But I also, as a Cheap Chip, the good thing about Cheap Chip is that when you invest, you pay a lot of attention, and you also make sure to get the ROI. And it took me a lot of like wrong coaches to figure it out. But when I finally, Jeff stuck with me and I stuck with him, then I did implement, and I got huge results. They weren't little results. And when I paid way more, I got way more results. So I got the lesson. But that was definitely years of agonizing about, scared to spend money, but sometimes, taking, because I knew I had big, big dreams. I knew I could do it, but I was so scared.
How long before you started working with Jeff had you been working with coaches?
Yeah, it was probably about a year or so. I became a financial advisor at the end of 2006 or 2007. I started working with Jeff in 2009. I'm trying to remember if it was, I did Tony Robbins, I think the end of 2007. So probably since I did Tony Robbins, like so probably about a year and a half, I would say. Because I went to Tony Robbins seminar, and then I got the coach there, and then I hired another coach, and it was like a Tony Robbins coach, and that didn't work. And I found another coach, and that didn't work. And then I kept trying to hire, and they weren't very expensive. It was like $400, $500 a month, which to me was really expensive, but it was more expensive to not have the right coach, Cool. Oh my God, it's 3:30. Okay. Hey, ladies, did you have a good day?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get a lot of value?
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully I'll be seeing you guys at Advanced Sales Mastery or next events or whatever on WRAP, those sort of things, business building session. If you did sign up for that, we'll make sure you know when to get on the business building session and all that. If you did not, read the book, do the freaking things you got, use the actual stuff that you got, please. Don't let it be like, sitting on the shelf, and go create massive, massive results and help more people. Is that okay? Willing to do that?
Thank you.
Okay, give yourselves a hand. Thank you for an awesome day. Thank you, thank you, thank you.